can't turn Bitcoin off, you can't turn Ethereum off. It really feels like it could get to 200K, right? There's one of those memes on how do you know when to sell your Bitcoin? You won't have to. It'll be so pervasive that it will be like the new global median of exchange for everything. So there's no point in selling it, we're just using it to trade. It's easy to confuse hype with signal. Everything in life goes to zero at some point, right? So it's all about your time horizon. Can crypto, can blockchain change the business model of games? So the biggest problem that games have is distribution. And actually the biggest opportunity in crypto is distribution. Getting users to play your game is most of the battle. When a new Diablo comes out, or maybe even GTA 6 soon, people are more excited to allow game developers to build games for any crypto token. If there's someone who wants to make a game for PEPE, they can create a game for PEPE. My heart is in building, not in trading. And honestly, I'm not a great trader. I like to build things or invest in things that I think can stand the test of time.
Hello guys, so we are now in Dubai just before Token 2049, and here with you Anna Tutova, CEO of Coins Telegram, and our guest Justin Waldron, who is co-founder of Zynga, a social gaming company which was back in 2011 one of the biggest IPOs after Google. And as well, he is currently in Web3 as well and building open gaming protocol and gems. Great to have you here, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So can you tell us about your background and how did you get from gaming into crypto and Web3?
Yeah, sure. So I started building games when I was quite young, but I started my first game company when I was 19. And that company was Zynga. So first game I built was Zynga Poker, became the world's largest free poker game. And why we built that game was pretty simple. Basically, college students loved poker at that time. It was the biggest thing, like on TV, everybody was watching World Series of Poker. And so it was a natural thing to try, right? Let's put poker on Facebook and see if people like it. They really liked it, so we kept building games, and that turned into the company Zynga, which became the largest social game, mobile game company. But along the way, we figured out a new business model for games. So what was really interesting was before that, games were usually not free. You couldn't play them instantly in a web browser. You couldn't pay for items in the games. Most of these things are things that we really developed at Zynga. So we learned a lot about how to use this new technology like Flash in the web browser and even in-app payments to go and build a new business model for games. So naturally, when crypto started having smart contract support, even back in 2016-ish or around Ethereum days, that's when I started paying a lot of attention to it because virtual currency is something that previously people thought was existing in freemium games. So even when Bitcoin came out, a lot of people were asking me, what do you think of this? Like naturally, I think it's super different. Farmville currency or Words of Friends coins are not anything like Bitcoin. But at the time when people first started hearing about it, they didn't really have a reference. So these types of things were constantly being sent to me. And I initially, I thought, wow, like it's so hard to make anyone care about these currencies. We put in so much effort to make anyone want to buy anything at all in these games. If no one's putting in the effort, how will any of these things work? But I bought some Bitcoin anyway, and I got along for the ride, and over time I learned more and more about what made decentralization so interesting. And so in the earliest days of ETH, I started to support a lot of teams like Immutable, who were building a game called EtherBots. This is before Immutable was a company, and Dapper when they were doing CryptoKitties, Decentraland. These are some of the earliest projects of games on the blockchain. And I got really excited about the idea of can crypto, can blockchain change the business model of games again? Can we do the same thing that happened with freemium games? Can we see like an entire reinvention of the business model that's better for players and for game makers?
And which year did you buy your first Bitcoin?
That's a good question. Well, it was when MtGox was still the main exchange. So I tried to send a wire to MtGox. I was in San Francisco at the time, and my bank rejected it. And so
you were lucky.
Well, I don't think I was lucky because everybody did end up getting their money through, right? But instead I had to go via Coinbase, but Coinbase had very tight limits at the time. So probably I ended up buying a lot less than I thought, but I never sold any Bitcoin from that point. So yeah. I don't know. I guess my bank protected me from making a lot more money because instead I had to go on Bitcoin and earn the ability to keep adding larger and larger deposits. So,
So which year did you manage to buy your first
I
Bitcoin,
don't
or
know,
it
what
was?
year was that? That must have been like, I don't know, 20. It was like a couple $100s. Yeah. So whenever that was, 2012, 13.
Oh wow! So it was pretty early.
Pretty early. Yeah. I mean, in San Francisco, there were people talking about it at that time. So yeah, pretty early.
And which year was it when you got your career into crypto? 2016 with Ethereum?
I heard about crypto because one of the investors in my company at Zynga was Peter Thiel, and he runs Founders Fund, but he also invested in our company, and he started a new program to help students, convince them to drop out of school, and then to just start a company instead of going through school. And I actually dropped out when we started Zynga, so I thought like I should help these kids, and so I became a mentor for that program. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but Vitalik went through that program. And so when I found out about Ethereum, was in an email that said somebody was trying to build something called smart contracts on the blockchain, and here are the different people who are dropping out that you can meet. And yeah, at the time when I read it, I had no idea what it meant. You know, it was like that idea was so different from anything I had ever heard. I mean, even to this day, it's quite revolutionary, right? But like, that was the first time that I heard about Ethereum. And I didn't go directly into putting my full career in crypto at that point. I mean, and shortly after, when I started advising these game companies that were building on the blockchain from the earliest days, I started advising because I was still investing in a lot of other companies. I was still doing a lot of stuff in Web2. What I really care about is like what product you can build with the technology. And so for me, it wasn't really ready yet to build the types of things I wanted to build. And that's usually like a product that a lot of people can play. It wasn't possible 2017, 2018. So I started working with these teams who I thought could help make it more mass market, could solve some of the scalability problems, could build products that a lot of people would want to use, and then I could learn a lot more about and help them through that process. And then when I saw that scalability and usability were getting to a good place, that's when I decided like, okay, I should really actually invest a lot more time in making something myself. And that was a few years ago at this point.
Oh, that's awesome. And as well, can you tell how did the idea of starting open gaming protocol come to you, and can you explain how it works?
Yeah, so I noticed that, as I said, like a lot of the harder problems that people mentioned in crypto started to be solved, but we still weren't seeing what you'd expect. We hadn't seen a game that stayed for a long time, or we hadn't seen something where it felt like everybody knows that crypto should be a huge part of, or gaming should be a huge part of crypto, but we hadn't seen something that seemed to have solved it. We've seen like a lot of things for a moment that showed a lot of promise, but nothing that really stuck and proved the model that kept going and going and going and going. And when I started to think about this idea, it was really, there's a few things. One was, can you have a lot of people playing the games? And I think the answer is now, yes, the technology is ready for that. Can you make it simple enough that normal people who don't use crypto can play the games? I think the answer is also no, yes. And then I noticed a third problem, which was, can developers who don't develop crypto software actually learn how to put this technology to useful use in their games? And the answer to that, surprisingly still, is no, in my opinion. And I learned this because I talked to a lot of developers who haven't explored crypto, and some of them who are open to it, they're very worried about having to make a game economy that uses smart contracts. They're worried about being able to tune it. They can't. They're used to being able to control everything in an economy where they can like simply just wipe the database or fix the number if something goes wrong. And so the idea of doing something in crypto when the model is so unproven is something that a lot of them has turned them off from making games. And so what we've set out to do is basically make a product and a protocol where developers don't need to worry about the crypto layer. And that means that they can implement it in 5 minutes. And then their game can receive or share rewards that are crypto rewards, but they don't actually need to understand or build any infrastructure that uses crypto directly.
So it sounds like you can give a lot of utility to the meme coins this way.
Yeah. So what we're hoping to do is allow game developers to build games for any crypto token. And what I mean by that is that every token can have its own game ecosystem. And so what we've noticed is that it's so hard to build a token ecosystem that players or that holders care about. And there are so few of them, right? If there's a few hundred coins that people really, really love, and they don't really have game ecosystems, but some of them have great content. Some of them are obvious, like you think of something like Trump coin. Trump has a lot of content. You think of something like GigaChat, it's obvious the meme, what the meme is there. But even some that you don't think of as meme coins, ethereum has so much content. Bitcoin has so much content. The memes are what have kept the conversation alive for these coins, right? So we've been creating content on Twitter about these coins for years. And now what we see happening with AI is that game creation as a type of content is becoming possible. And so there needs to be a way to organize this energy to help these people who are making these games, put them in a situation where people who can play them can earn these coins. And so what I mean is that if there's someone who wants to make a game for PEPE, they can create a game for PEPE, and then players can earn PEPE from playing the game. It drives distribution for the game developer. It drives utility for the existing token community. And we solve the incentives for the ecosystem to grow the token further through this, like a new form of marketing, right?
So you still think that meme coins have a chance? That they're not dead?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think what we might see is that there are probably ways for other teams to add utility to coins that don't necessarily have utility already. And this is what makes the permissionless nature of blockchain so exciting in the first place, right? It may be that a meme coin community just launches a coin without any intention of having any utility. But once it's out there, it's possible for other people to add utility to it. And I think if we can prove that this is something that works, then I think it won't just be games. It'll probably be all sorts of different interesting things people can do with these coins.
And do you invest yourself into meme coins?
Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, from my perspective, it's like I'm trying to find the best way to build the product and to understand the mindset of everyone who's doing these things. So like you have to do it, but my heart is in building, not in trading. And like honestly, I'm not a great trader. I'm more of like an invest long-term type of holder. So like I said, I still have my Bitcoin, and I feel like I don't know if I'll ever sell it. Like for me, it's very much like it goes to wherever it goes, or it goes to zero, and that's just kind of I've already made that decision years ago. And I like to build things or invest in things that I think can stand the test of time. So my last company, I was excited that we were able to actually IPO it, and it stayed independent. Recently it merged with Take-Two, so now it's one of the like 3 or 4 largest game companies in the world. But I want to build that type of thing in crypto. I don't want to build something that is popular for a month or a week. And I think it's great that those opportunities exist, but personally, like I want to make something that lasts, that outlives me if I can. So our ambitions on this are pretty high.
Yeah, that's definitely a right approach. So do you hold any meme coins for the long term? Do you believe into any meme coins?
I think, so that's a good question. I think I definitely will after this, because after we release our product, if we can prove this works, I think that there's a very strong thesis for that meme coins can be a lot more than just purely driven on the attention from the memes themselves. And I think if this works, I think we will see a pretty strong amount of investment back into meme coins. So I personally, it would change the way that I think about them. I've already changed it internally, and I'm excited about what we're doing, but if it works, like I do think there's like a real thesis for holding them longer term.
And since you're like long-term holder and long-term thinker, sometimes things don't go as we wanted.
Yeah.
So did you lose any money in crypto?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also like just building things over the last few years, right? I mean, we've worked on. We've always thought that we want to empower people to create better content and get paid for it. And in the way this relates to losing money is basically we've scrapped like 5 or 6 different ideas on the way to getting this idea because as you know, the business models keep changing in Web3. It was only a few years ago that art blocks and generative art, it was just the biggest thing ever. And now it's, I mean, art hasn't gone anywhere, but like this model and the creator royalties has changed completely, right? So I think for us, it's how do you solve the problem of building on something that lasts a long time when things are changing all the time? How do you design something that can withstand the changes? Some that are predictable, some that aren't, is its own design problem, right? So like a big part of where we've landed with what we're doing now is something that actually benefits from the changes that are happening in the ecosystem. It isn't relying on like one particular trend or just like one particular technology. It's something that sits in a way where it's benefiting from the constant new ideas that are coming from crypto. So yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share of rugs on projects. I think everybody has. I got excited about some very early game projects that I probably lost 100% of my investment on. Usually for me, it's because I'm so bad at trading. So I just buy it and then I realize it's at zero, when I finally get around to looking at it again. So that's why I try not to do too much.
But you still believe in potential of blockchain gaming?
Yeah. No, yes, I do. So the biggest problem that games have, that every game has, is distribution. And actually the biggest opportunity in crypto is distribution. And this is something that's quite interesting. Like if you talk to game developers on mobile, they'll tell you that getting even 10,000 users to play their game is so hard. And they have to spend $3 to $5 per user buying them from Facebook ads. And then you talk to people in crypto and many of them are getting larger amounts of players than that for free or through people playing to earn their token. And so what's quite interesting is these two worlds are so separate. And the people that are making the mobile games, they don't see Web3 as a user acquisition channel right now. They see it as a business model. And so when they see it as a user acquisition channel, actually like there's a big chance that many of them start adopting it because getting users to play your game is most of the battle. And for those of us that have been building in the App Store for a long time, it went from a place where you could find a lot of distribution for your game to one where now it's extremely difficult. The games that are big have been around for a very long time. They've been tuning their metrics for 10 years in some cases. They've been tuning their ad copy. Everything is so optimized. And then when you put out a new game, you have to have a game that has higher lifetime value than all of these 13 years of mobile games. And you have to somehow figure out how to lower your cost of acquisition, lower than them by having some better ad unit. And threading that needle at this point is almost impossible. That's why there are so few new hits in the mobile app store. It's not because there aren't great games being built, it's just because there's no form of discovering them. And then meanwhile, you have these communities who need content or who just produce content constantly. And if these game developers can be connected with these communities who can promote this content, then that's something where it solves both sides' problem, right? So the way that we think about it is it's like a multi-sided marketplace where you have traders who want one thing and you have game developers who want distribution really. They have lots of ways to monetize their games. They don't need blockchain to be the way they monetize their games, but they need users. They really need users. And then you have players who have a lot of options and they're getting kind of bored of what's in the app store. And so what I'm really bullish on for crypto gaming is that if you find a new way to make the business model of games change, then the content changes. And the problem is that because the business model hasn't changed for games in over 10 years in the App Store, all the content looks the same. There's only one model to succeed in the App Store. So we're playing the same games over and over and everything barely changes. But if we can build an ecosystem of games on these other tokens, everything's going to change. The types of games that those communities are going to want is going to be different. And we're going to have more creativity and room for more people to make a living doing this. So like, that's the thing that gets us excited about working on something like this. It's not to just like distribute mobile games that already exist in a better way. It's that it'll create a new wave of games that look different than today.
But a lot of people say that blockchain gaming doesn't work because blockchain games are not fun to play. And currently we see as well development of AI, and so that a lot of games can be easily created with AI. So what are your thoughts on that, and how AI can change blockchain games?
Yeah, so I think the role of someone making games is changing like very fast because of AI. And I think that this problem of distribution becomes even more important. But I think we have a roadmap from what we've seen with other forms of media where we can kind of guess where it might be going. And so we saw with video what's happened with video distribution and content. And I think actually games may finally become a bit more like video. And what I mean by that is when we made Farmville in 2009, there weren't really any interesting games to play in the browser. Now, there were thousands of Facebook games that were competing with Farmville, but there weren't that many good ones. You know, Farmville was literally one of the only 3 or 4 interesting farm games that even existed on the internet. Now, farm game is a genre of game. There's, I don't know, 10,000 in the App Store or something, right? And so people could spend 2 years playing the game. And now, when a new Diablo comes out, or the game's like, maybe even GTA 6 soon, people are more excited for this game than any game anyone's ever been excited for, ever. But how long will people really play? Will they play for a month? Will they play for a week? Will they play for 2 years? I don't know. I mean, the life cycle of content keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And people expect it to be more and more tuned to their personal interests, right? So what we see with video now is that like a lot of the form, 10 years ago, we'd all watch the same movie and we talk about it. And now everybody has their own content that they're looking at. And it's so different, it's so personalized. And so that's just gonna be where games go. That's our view. And so what we need in that world is a way to organize the content so that people can find the content that they like, and that's aligned with the other parts of their life that they already are interested in. And right now, games aren't made that way, but video is, right? When you use TikTok, you get video that's basically made for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And as well, so you've come now to Dubai for the first time. What are your expectations from this country, and as well, what are your expectations from Token 2049?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a great experience at Token in Singapore, so I've just been meaning to visit Dubai, and I've had a lot of invitations to visit for other conferences. So basically, it's time for me to finally come and pay dues to a bunch of friends who live in the area that have been waiting. So yeah, I'm excited to just stay here and like, you know, discover the area and learn a little bit more about it. I personally I've been like really taken aback by like the hospitality here. Is really, really great. I live in Japan. It's known for a different type of hospitality, but like also here it's just, everyone's been so warm and welcoming, so it's nice.
Yeah, Middle East is one of the most hospitable regions.
Yeah.
And as well, how like this year we saw a lot of up and downs on the market. Like everybody was recently quite upset with the Trump's tariffs and etc. So how do you see the current crypto market?
I think that everything in life goes to zero at some point, right? So it's all about your time horizon. And like personally, there's a lot of money to be made at every time horizon. I know there's so much money to be made day trading, but I also think you can pay a cost on emotionally And I know some people can steel themselves to it, but I can't, so I don't. And so like I try to invest my emotional energy into building because I feel like I have more control, or at least I can have more fun doing it. And I've certainly sat out some bull runs in the process, like where I'm just heads down, focused on other things. And I probably also waded through some bear markets where I felt pretty good because I just didn't have that much exposure outside of a bunch of Bitcoin. So, and I personally, I don't think it really matters. I know this isn't a take people want to hear, but I think in the long arc of things, like there's only, and I'm not like a Bitcoin maxi, so it's not like that. It's just more that there are so few things that actually end up mattering 10 years from now that it's just easier to try to figure out what those are and just put your money in it and just disappear and like go touch grass and like have fun or go build something. Because if you're always trying to chase the next thing every single day, I think there's a lot of noise, right? There's so much going on, and there's actually so little signal. I think it's easy to confuse hype with signal, and it's been an exercise from like the market to figure out how to value some of these things collectively, and I still think there are so many coins that people still look at and they scratch their head and they're like, how is it worth that, right? So, I mean, probably there'll be a lot more future things where they go down and people lose a lot of money. But from when I zoom out, like, and I look at everything, it's the best position that crypto's ever been in. So that's what I like to focus on. Like, I think from a regulatory perspective, like we've never had the US backing crypto, and the things that are changing there are going to be huge. There's so much great capital and teams, talent that's going to come into the space when all of those laws come through, and when many people in San Francisco have more friends who are building crypto, this is going to grow to a whole other level. And so what I'm excited about is, I think that there was an inevitability to it all. It felt like you can't turn Bitcoin off, you can't turn Ethereum off. It felt like that years ago, but it didn't necessarily feel like it was inevitable that everyone would be using it. And now I actually think that that feels inevitable. It really does feel like it's just a matter of time before the whole world has widely adopted crypto for all sorts of different interesting use cases, because we have a clear path now. So yeah, the challenge in the meantime is just figuring out where to spend your time, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. And do you have any price predictions for Bitcoin by the end of this year?
Price predictions for Bitcoin. It's April, right? Yeah, I mean, it really feels like it could get to 200K, right? But I'm not a trader, so you shouldn't. You're asking the wrong person. But yeah, yeah, maybe 200K.
And do you have any price point at which you will be ready to sell your Bitcoin?
No.
So you're keeping it forever?
No, I really do believe, like, if there's one of those memes, and I'm going to paraphrase, I'm getting it wrong, but it's like, how do you know when to sell your Bitcoin? And you won't have to. Right, it'll be so pervasive that it will be like the new global median of exchange for everything. So there's no point in selling it, we're just using it to trade at that point, right? That's actually how I feel about Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's great. Hopefully Bitcoin will be resistant and not will be hacked in the future by the quantum computers.
Yes, there are risks, there are risks, but that's how I feel about it, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.